Okay, Lena, I want to go with you really quick. I know that you're a supporter of President Trump, and my issue, the things that David were talking about, good people in this rally just want the monuments to say. For me, if you're a good person and you're in a rally and people start marching, Jews will not replace us, and you stay there, you are not a good person. You go home.
Sure.
Or you shouldn't be there in the first place. There's no good people at a white nationalist rally marching along with people who are saying Jews will not replace us. I think that's uncomplicated.
As a Jewish woman,
exactly.
I couldn't agree with you more. There is no room in this country for hate and racism and bigotry, for people killing each other. And I'm deeply concerned about the state of this country, and that's why I'm running for the United States Senate to fight for Michigan residents and the American people. With that said, I also support a president who has come out strongly against racism and bigotry and violence. There is no room for this in our country, and we all agree on that.
I think the only thing we don't agree with, and we're going to get you in, Ted, is the strongly coming out against. I think he said it. He said the words from time to time. For me, he equivocated. For me, he was ambiguous. I obviously said my piece in the docket, but I think that hesitance is an issue for some people.
But the geography real quick matters here, because you say they were there marching, people marching with them. First of all, I don't know how many of you have been to Charlottesville, but I've actually sat down and had dinner at a restaurant on that street a block away from this happened. And I'm going to tell you the geography of this. You had both sides going at it, the neo-Nazis, and you had the Antifa, the Black Lives Matter. Those were about a couple hundred people combined. Then away from that were the people that were actually protesting on any side of this peacefully without getting involved. The total number in that area, some estimate around 1,000. So you ought to pay attention and not also put the people that were there for whatever reason who were peaceful under the Constitution with the people that were there to spread their hate and violent clashes.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm going to go ahead and say the most controversial thing in the world, and if you find fault with this, you're brain dead. All lives matter, and we condemn all violence. Those are bad words? Where are those bad words? What planet are you from?
Okay.
We condemn all violence. That's what President Trump said, and all lives matter. If you don't agree with that, you're a racist.
Okay, so if a Muslim Islamic terrorist had driven a car into a group of people, would you accept the president, let's say it were Obama?
Yes,
say,
absolutely. All violence is condemnable. Violence and hate came from all and many sources, and we condemn them all. That's ambiguous? That's ambiguous.
Should we not say radical Islamic terrorism?
Here's the problem, Ted.
That's a problem,
It wasn't all sides that drove a car into Heather.
No, but it was all sides that infuriate their lunatic friends. They don't represent the heart and soul of America.
When the prosecutors go to make this case, probably a federal hate crime as it should be, a case of terrorism.
Okay, but hang on a second.
No, David, let me finish. That will not be ambiguous. There will not be multiple parties held accountable. That's a single individual acting in the name of white nationalism.
The blood hadn't even been picked up yet.
That's just the fact.
All violence is condemnable, and it came from many sources.
And all violence
they're all condemnable.
Life, though, David.
But here's
Sure it did. It was all part of a bunch of lunatic fringe pissing and moaning,
Even President Trump, Ted, said that one individual
Maybe more
is a
information
murderer.
is coming in.
And
the murderer is
while I watch
responsible.
this lively debate, I am thinking about the American viewer that's watching us tonight. And they're looking for answers, and they're looking for wisdom, and they're looking for insights. And we can all disagree. In fact, it's the most beautiful part of the American experience is to have an individual opinion and to be protected by free speech.
As long as we're not gagged by political correctness.
Absolutely.
All violence is condemnable and all lives matter.
I agree with you 100%.
As long as we also do something else which is important, take a breath, everybody, and calmly put these where they belong. First, we're discussing, and Ted, you address the president's words and you talk about it. Then you bring in the charge against the man. They are not mixed. They are part of an event, different facets. So for you to sit here and talk about the driver and insert that into the comment about the president, you need to clearly separate them. To your points, the American people...
Actually,
they're linked. They're linked because, you know what?
Can I finish?
Sure, they're linked.
They're linked into one event. but his actions are not directly attributable to the president's words. They came afterwards. And also, he committed his act for whatever reason, as we will find out in the prosecution, may or may not, based on what they're able to determine. So why don't we do what you and I have talked about over the years on radio and take a pause for the process also to pay out and for the rest of the truth
David.
to come
I
out.
have certainly, you know me for many years, and I have never been one to I'm not indicting President Trump for the murder of this young woman. And you know I've never, ever said that, not on this show and not in the years you've known me. That is separate and apart, though, and Kat is right. He is also accountable for his response in the same way that President Obama was accountable for his responses over the years.
People notice the fact that President Trump has never hesitated to name the specific source of the violence and the ideology behind it until it was a white supremacist. That is a fact.
When there's a lot of factions involved, there was numerous factions involved.
A white
so we identified that all the violence was condemnable.
And you know what? I also think that if David Duke and Richard Spencer are praising your approach to racial issues, maybe you're taking the wrong one.
Maybe that might be a party. This is not the party of David Duke.
Intellectually dishonest.
How is it intellectually dishonest?
Yeah, no. How is that intellectually dishonest?
Explain that to me. I really would love to know.
Anybody can attach themselves to anybody, and it doesn't mean it's accurate.
The Republican Party is the party of Lincoln, my friends. We are not the party of David Duke.
Say so. Why doesn't President Trump say so? Because the White House statement said nothing about neo-Nazis, nothing about white supremacy.
I'm glad you're saying so.
First of all, because somebody endorses you, does it mean you ascribe to their beliefs or their endorsement?
Never.
And if so, when the communists endorsed Barack Obama, did that make him a communist?
So let's be intellectually honest here, David. This is not the first time.
What did I say that was wrong?
No, let me finish. This is not the first time white supremacists or David Duke have tried to hijack wrongfully the Republican Party. You know who forcefully and quickly condemned them? Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush. So this is not the GOP's first time at this rodeo. No, he actually told Jake Tapper, Ted, he said, I don't know David Duke. I don't know what you speak about. The hesitation is an issue, though, Ted. It is.
It is, and it was with Robert Byrd and the Democrat Party, for example, who accepted him. When are we going to go out and take his name off buildings around the country? When are Democrats going to march? And by the way, who decides what comes down in this country needs to be a part of this?
That's a separate, as you say accurately, that's a distinct conversation,
but it's
and I'm happy to have it. Happy to have it.
It's a part of this
conversation. I know that the fighting is good in this show, and I know that's important. Let's have the human common denominator tonight, that there are lives that were lost, families in grief. We lost those that would protect us.
Two great troopers.
Two wonderful troopers. Bless them and their families.
We called them out by name on this program because they matter.
And the American people are hurting. Let's be the common denominator. We stand for humanity. We stand for grace and dignity. The Republican Party is the party of more, greater opportunity for all. And while we talk about the terrible tragedies that happened over the weekend, there's a lot of other beautiful stories happening in this country. Americans are enjoying a better experience as a result of Donald Trump's presidency economically. Why do we never talk about that in here?
And put an exclamation point on it the way Ebony started out by saluting the family for showing strength.
Yes,
and in the face of tragedy, Americans always take the high road and do the right thing. So our prayers go out to the victims, and we hope that the lunatic fringe will be suppressed and contained at some point.
I'm just trying to keep things intellectually honest here, and I know that if this were President Obama and this were an Islamic terrorist that was driving a car into people and he'd responded with, all violence is bad, let's condemn all violence, many of the people that are condoning President Trump would be flipping out over this. I just want people to understand what the word consistency means and their response.
In those instances of tragedy, the perpetrators were specific and individual. In this instance, there were many. There were many that fanned the flames.
You're talking about the protests. Absolutely, there were many. But when it comes to why Heather is dead today, that's an individual who acted in the name of white nationalism and white supremacy. He's a domestic terrorist. I don't care what you or anyone says. That part is indisputable.
That's disputable under law, under federal law versus state law, and what classifies.
He's a murderer. That's for sure.
If we can't call it by its name, we don't have the moral compass or clarity to be on this set and in this table.
We are.
President Trump is not, and that's the distinction. I'm glad you're representing the GOP very well today.
And I also stand with President Trump.
But you guys are standing for two different things on this
It's not
issue.
No,
one or
it's
the
not
other.
true.
No,
You are.
ma'am.
You're
That's a
standing for two
unified
different things.
condemnation
No,
of
it's something
evil.
very different. When he
I
says you
respect the
could
man
call
and
it,
his policies
and that's
to
fine.
protect this country.
The president plainly said yesterday in a press conference, he's either a murderer or we could call him a terrorist. He will not pick what he will call him. He will not do it.
All right, well.